Hey everyone, how's it going? Today we're going to be going over and showing you how to install the Roadmaster Direct-Connect Base Plate kit here on a 2020 Chevrolet Silverado 2500. So this is what our base plate kit is going to look like hooked up to our vehicle here. You can see we have a removable arm on either side here. On the inside we have our safety chain convenience links, and then we have our breakaway switch mounting in the center as well as our electrical connector. So that's one of the reasons I like this particular kit. Number one, we have the removable arm design so we can take these out when we're not towing for a mostly factory-like finish. And number two, we have built-in integration for all of our other accessories that we need to order to successfully flat to our vehicle, such as the breakaway switch for the braking system and the electrical connector to control our lights. Everything is integrated into the bumper here, so it's got a nice sturdy design here, and it looks pretty good if you ask me. So one big thing you need to make sure of when you're selecting your base plates is that they're compatible with the tow bar either that you have or that you want to use, because base plate and tow bar do need to be compatible with one another in order to work together, and usually the compatibility comes down to the brand. So this is a Roadmaster base plate kit, therefore it's going to be directly compatible with all motorhome mounted Roadmaster tow bars. And what I mean by motorhome mounted is we have a shank that installs into the receiver on the motorhome. It doesn't use any sort of ball and coupler design. So as long as you have a Roadmaster motorhome mounted tow bar, these base plates are going to be directly compatible. Now, that's not to say that you can't use the base plate kit with a tow bar from another manufacturer such as Blue Ox or Demco, but you would need an adapter which is sold separately, but we do offer them here at eTrailer. So pretty much no matter what tow bar you have, these base plates are going to work, but you may or may not need an adapter depending on what brand that is. So when we're ready to unhook the truck, maybe head in town, grab a bite to eat, it's very simple. A couple of these first steps here are going to be specific to your tow bar, but if you have a motorhome mounted Roadmaster, it will be the same for this, but just simply release that linch pin, pull the clip out, and then your arm is probably going to fall down. If you have a newer tow bar, it should stay self-supported there for a little bit. Just go ahead and move that out of the way. And then we have our safety cables here. Go ahead and unhook that. And then on this side, we have the breakaway switch. Now, pretty much the only thing we're going to be doing on the other side that's different is the electrical connector, but everything will be the exact same. And then we can actually remove this arm here for a much more sleek finish here, so it's not sticking out in front of the vehicle as much. So we'll just pull that plunger there, and we can actually rotate this out in either direction to remove it completely. As you can see here, we have a much more flush-like finish. The only thing that does stick out is that convenience leak, and that's actually by design. That way you're not scratching your bumper each time you need to hook up. So now when we're ready to get it hooked back up, it's pretty much just the same thing in reverse. We can install the arm in either position like this, rotate it over, or we can install it like this and rotate it over. It does not matter. And then we'll just simply take our tow bar arm here, lift it up, line up everything, insert your pin through, line up your holes on the end, put that pin through, close it down, and then we just have to hook up everything else, such as the safety cables here. Those are pretty simple. And then on this side, as we said, we have our breakaway, so I'll go ahead and reconnect that as well. But then we just do that same thing on the other side, and we're ready to hit the road. So in regards to installation, the base plate kits are going to be one of the more involved components of your flat tow setup. This particular one requires moving the bumper. We have to remove the grille here as long as some other bezels, but it's really not that bad. It's definitely still something a weekend warrior can do in an afternoon with just some common hand tools. You will need a torque wrench, and if you don't have one of those, that's fine. You can actually rent this for free from most local auto parts stores. And there's actually pretty minimal modifying to the vehicle. We have to cut a few sections of the grille there, just that plastic part, just to allow for clearance of some of our other accessories. But aside from that, it's relatively modification free. And best of all, we'll walk you through the entire process step by step now. Now to start our installation today, we need to come up and underneath the vehicle here to the back side. We're going to be removing one of the bolts to our bumper stiffeners. For this, you're going to need a 15mm socket. So next we're going to come into our engine bay here. We're going to have the handle for our hood latch release. We need to go ahead and remove just that plastic part. So we're going to take a T15 Torx bit and remove these two Torx screws on the top here. Once we get these out, we should just be able to slide our handle off the latch release. Next, we're going to be removing this cover panel here. Now, this is going to be held into place with several of these little push pin fasteners. There's going to be a couple of them on this side, a couple of them on this side, so just go ahead and take some time, remove these all now, and then we can just lift our panel straight up. Now how you remove these is you just take a flathead screwdriver, pry open that center section, and then pry up from the bottom. Now that we have all our fasteners removed, we'll just go ahead and lift up on our panel here to take it off the vehicle. So once we get that panel off, we're going to have 2 more screws up at the top here, 2 on either side. We're going to remove with a 10mm socket. Next thing we need to do is we need to come to either side here. We need to release a couple clips here holding our fender trim here to the body of the vehicle. So I'm just going to take a trim panel tool, or you can just take your fingers and just pry up there to release the white clips behind there. So we've got a couple of them released. We need to do a few more. So I'm just going to work our way back here. I'm going to do 1 more back here because I can see the fastener we need to get to. There we go. And what we're looking for is that little screw there. So we're going to go ahead and remove that with a 7mm socket. So in order to prevent you from having to hold the fender trim back from one hand while you remove that screw, just take a wadded up piece of paper towel there and just wedge it in between the fender and that trim panel. Once we get this side out, we'll just repeat these same few steps over on the other side. Now we're going to come inside to our wheel well here, locate this torque screw. This is going to be attaching to the back side of our bumper end cap. We're going to take a T15 torque spit, go ahead and remove that. Next, we're going to actually be removing this bumper end cap. Now, this is held in place with a couple different clips and fasteners, so just be careful here. Work your way along the outside edges to release those clips. And if we come in here to where the fog light is, you can kind of use a trim panel tool and just pry that out like that. So we showed you how to remove one of your bumper end caps. Jump on over to the other side now and remove that one as well using the same steps we showed you over there. Now on either corner of our grill insert, you're going to have a fastener. So you're going to go ahead and take a 10mm socket to remove that. Now we're ready to remove our grill here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one hand here. I'm going to grab this side of it and just sort of pull out. And then you're going to need to do that to the other side. Once you've done that, it should just come out and off the vehicle here. Now, some models may have some additional sensors and wiring that you have to undo prior to this. So if you do, just go ahead and remove those now. It looks like we do have one over here on the passenger side. So now over here we have an electrical connector to unplug. So we're going to go ahead and take that red locking tab, press that out and away, and then we're going to use our screwdriver to depress the tab there in the center, and we should be able to pull straight out. Next, we're ready to remove our lower bumper. So there's going to be 2 bolts on each side. They're going to be heading straight down, not into the vehicle like we normally see them. There's going to be one up top here that's a little bit easier to see, and another one that's tucked down in here that's a little bit harder to see. So you're going to need a longer extension to get to that one, and remove these using an 18mm socket. So on diesel models with a block heater, there is an additional wiring connection over here on the driver's side, just directly below the headlight there. So just go ahead and pry that out there. There is a tab. So once we get all of our hardware removed, we should just be able to remove the bumper from the vehicle. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to be removing the tow hooks from either side here. So we're going to take an 18mm socket, come on the inside here to the bolt head, and loosen that up a couple turns to break it free. And then we need to come back on the other side with an 18mm wrench so we can hold that nut, and then we can continue removing the bolt. So once we do get that tow hook out, we won't be reinstalling the tow hook, but we will be keeping the hardware used to secure it to the vehicle. Next, we'll go ahead and take our driver's side base plate arm. Keep in mind, on the driver's side, the safety chain convenience link is going to be facing the inside of the vehicle. So once we get it lined up roughly here, we're going to install it using this factory hardware that we removed from the factory tow hooks. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to take one of our 5/8 inch bolts. We're going to be placing a split lock washer over this, a fender washer, and then one of our offset spacers that look like this. And then we're going to use some red Loctite on this bolt here, just like that. And then we will begin threading it in to the weld nut on the bottom of the base plate through this hole in the frame here. So we want to make sure that that spacer is flush against the bottom of the frame. So you may need to actually push that into position while you're tightening it down. Next, we're going to take a 15/16 inch socket, and we're going to go ahead and snug down this fastener here. Then we can torque it to the specifications found in your instructions. Next, we're going to remove the nuts from our tow hook bolts. We're going to apply some red Loctite to those as well, and then we'll re-secure them. And now that we have this side done, we're just going to repeat these same few steps over on the other side of the vehicle. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to come over to our bumper here, and we're going to flip it upside down so we can see the inside of it. And we're going to take our electrical connector bracket here that looks like this. Now keep in mind, this is over here on the passenger side, and basically this little oblong hole here is going to line up with that bolt there. So we're just going to roughly place it into position so we can kind of show you how it's going to be oriented. But we have some slats here we need to remove. Go ahead and take a paint marker here, just roughly mark out where I want to trim those. And then we're going to take some sort of knife so we can remove those little slats there. If you have a Dremel tool, that'll work as well. Just whatever you have to remove that material. Once we have that removed, we'll go ahead and test fit our bracket again. That looks pretty good to me. So now I'm going to take a 13mm socket and remove this bolt here. Once I have that removed, I'm going to go ahead and place our bracket into position there, and then re-secure your bolt. So now we're going to come over here to the driver's side, and we're going to be doing that same thing with our breakaway switch bracket. So now that we have all of our brackets in place, we actually need to enlarge the plastic opening here that our factory tow hooks went through. So I'm just going to take a paint marker here. I'm pretty much just going to make a line straight across there. You can see we already have that little cutout. We're just going to cut the tabs off there and make it a nice flush rectangle. So we need to go ahead and do that on both sides. Now we're just going to go ahead and throw our bumper grill back onto the vehicle here using the reverse order from the steps that we showed you previously. So we've got everything hooked up, and that's pretty much going to do it today for our installation of the Roadmaster Direct-Connect Base Plate kit here on a 2020 Chevrolet Silverado 2500.